You're not lazy, you're scared. Psychologists have discovered that procrastination isn't a time management thing or a motivational problem or even an ADHD issue. It's a coping mechanism. Being in a state of worry, fear, the land of the what ifs, will zap your life force, leaving you feeling physically and mentally fatigued. You might be in that spot right now at this very minute. You know when everything, even simple tasks, feel like a dreadful chore? Yeah, that's when you're likely in that zone. So as a subconscious way for our nervous systems to get a mood boost, a dopamine hit, the feel-good hormone, we procrastinate. I say we as I do it too. The difference is I've found a way to work with this natural tendency of mine, and I'm teaching you how to do that in today's podcast episode. Before we get in there is a spring mega bonus sale going down inside my famous ProjectME Posse business coaching membership. This is where you get live coaching and training from me and other special guest experts every single week, an incredible library of over 200 videos of everything you would need to scale your business from zero to consistent $15,000 months. I have people from all industries and all over the world inside the posse. We keep it to an intimate size. Therefore, you get your questions answered and you don't get lost in the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that a lot of these memberships have. We keep it intimate, which is why I can call it in integrity a business coaching program. And it's only $3.33. You get in right now for our spring mega bonus sale and you get my content creation made easy course bundle. This is not available for sale on its own. This is where you get fill in the blank post templates of how to create profitable content. This is where you get my content creation map. You get all the things in this bundle in order to get your content turning profits instead of wasting your time. You can swipe up the links in the show notes to get all the details and student reviews. It's projectmewithtiffany.com/ProjectMe Posse. Go grab it. Get in there now. It's month to month. You can cancel at any time. So at the very least, come check it out. See if it feels great to you, which it will. We have people who've been in there for years. And this is the most accessible way to get direct coaching and help from me. So you can't use money as an excuse. Many of my clients also end up in the posse as an adjunct because what we're talking about today with procrastination, this will help you be accountable. You have a once a week check-in. And as long as you commit to doing that, you have the support of the group. It's small enough to where we notice if you're gone. You get clear assignments and stuff to bring back every single week so that you can move the needle in your business and then get the support for your meltdowns and all the other crap that comes along with being an entrepreneur. So I'm excited to see you in there. Go take advantage of this mega bonus sale and swipe up. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash-making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow in your business and that wild brain of yours, in your bank account, in your relationships, and having a crap ton of fun while doing it. I have a confession to make before we get into the episode. I really might be vibing this vag cleavage thing. Like, you know, if you were listening last spring, summertime, it was really bothering me, and maybe because I'm getting desensitized to it at the beach and in yoga. And I'm like, okay, this higher cut bikini vibe and the way that they're cutting clothes now, it does kind of elongate you. And I was like, I might not like a deep vag cleavage. It's kind of like you show a little subtle side boob. I could do a little subtle vag cleavage. I might be open to it. Am I losing my mind? Or am I getting desensitized from seeing all this in LA? I don't know. Now it's like kind of starting to work for me. I just had to like get that out there. Please share your thoughts with me on Instagram on the vag cleavage. You can DM me at ProjectME with Tiffany on this very important topic. Tapping into our inner drugstore is really no different than taking street drugs, getting drunk, or binging on sugar. So as my longtime therapist, Janice, who passed away, taught me, what goes up must come down for our nervous systems to regulate. So what I was saying about procrastination, there's an addictive cycle with this. And this isn't just me saying this FMA from my ass. This is proven science where the addictive cycle is we get that dopamine, that instant relief of, okay, I can do it Monday. Okay, I can just chill this weekend. Okay, like I can set this down from now. This thing that feels heavy, I can set it down. So we get that feel good surge coming, right? And then what happens is as it gets closer to needing to do the thing, like the night before, we get the anticipatory anxiety of, okay, I've got to get this done tomorrow and all the stuff I put off. Now I have to get it done. I have a whole list tomorrow and I have all this stuff to do and I got to get up early and I got to da. Now we got the cortisol, another system, cortisol, and some of you get the adrenaline. So now we get that panic surge. And even though we don't like that feeling, that is also a drug. And then it ends up in dread the next morning where it's a weight, it's heaviness. It can even go into anxiety and like high adrenaline. Some people even get like panic attacks where it just feels like too much. And then what happens? Okay, I can do this later today. I'll do it tonight. Okay, maybe I'll do these 2 things tomorrow. And now you see how that cycle goes again. Insert the dopamine. And now we go back and round we go. It's kind of like what ended up causing Michael Jackson's death. What he did when he was going to go on his like final farewell tour, that terrible doctor he had on staff, he would get some kind of an upper, right? Like some kind of a speed, something in the morning to get him going because he got put to sleep like you would get put to sleep having a surgery on propofol all during the night. So you guys know anyone who's had surgery or has been sedated for like dental work or something, you're like really out of it. And in order to snap him out of it so he could go and perform, he was basically given like an adrenaline. And so he was in that kind of a cycle being used with external drugs. We do the same thing to ourselves and with our own internal drugstore. And it can lead to death. And I am pure evidence of this. I mean, you're like, well, you're alive. Yes, I'm alive by the grace of God. But I was the Walking Dead. And I know some of you are listening, were in that spot where you were the Walking Dead, where you're just like going through the motions. You're numb, you're robotic. You don't have much life force. You don't have much zest in there. Everything feels forced, like you're walking around with a heavy weighted blanket on everywhere you go. Even stuff you used to love feels hard. And that is a result of putting your system through having uppers and downers. Imagine cocaine in the morning, Ambien and alcohol at night. Up, down, up, down. What do you think is going to happen in your system, whether you're doing that externally with legal drugs, street drugs, or you're doing it with your internal drugstore? So let me give an example of what this looks like. When my therapist, Janice, taught me that, and I was in my 20s when she taught me this, because I'd be like, I'm so tired. I can barely move, and I don't understand what's going on. I did so much last week. And she's like, but what goes up must come down. We have to regulate. So if we get all revved up because we're nervous about a situation, whether it's business, it's personal life, it's a launch, something with your kids, right? We get all revved up. We're all hands on deck. We've got to do all this. And then we end up crashing from it. It's our body's way of trying to regulate. So I don't know how many of you are into like somatic healing or have ever studied anything with like Peter Levine. I do some somatic healing work for my own trauma. And when you observe animals, so you have a cat, dog, whatever, you observe animals, You notice like right now, and I'm not going to say it because Chubbs will go crazy, but if I said like certain keywords of things that excite him, he could be in a dead sleep. If you ever watched a bulldog sleep, they are in a dead sleep, snoring, farting, all the things. He would instantly wake up, pop to attention, and run on over. And then once he got the said thing, which starts with a T and ends with a T, once he got the said thing, it would not be abnormal within 3 minutes for him to be back asleep. So even if you observe animals, you will see how they regulate. Maybe someone rings the doorbell or you're watching TV and someone knocks on the door. Oh my God. Can we please sign some kind of a petition for any like Netflix, Hulu shows? Like no shows should be allowed to have doorbells or people knocking on a door. It's like it will take anyone's animal out of a dead sleep, and then they have to calm back down, but they get all revved up. They might look around the house. They might run to the door, but it would be pretty fair to say, even in a 15-minute window, that dog of yours is probably back down and sleeping because they naturally regulate. We get in the way as human beings of that regulation by forcing ourselves, caffeine, taking external drugs, our internal drugstore, life's demands that are on us, and then all the societal pressures, and then the glorification of being busy and being productive. And so we keep forcing and we keep pushing until we get sick, and our body is screaming at us, and it forces us to rest because we're not listening to it. That is our body's way, our entire operating system saying, hey, we're overheated, like an overheated phone or a laptop. We're overheated and we're shutting down, just like an engine of a car. That engine's overheating. Your car shuts down. It has to shut down. It has to cool off. It has to rest. And this is what procrastination shows up as. There's a sign in here. If your procrastination is really heavy lately, you are not taking enough pit stops. You're not taking enough rest points. Your self-care is off. You're not servicing, so to speak, your vehicle. It's not getting its regular servicing. You keep kind of blowing it off and pushing it off. What happens when you keep blowing off or pushing off dentist appointments? And I lived with someone who had great insurance, still does, and pushed off dental appointments for, I'm talking something crazy, like 10, 15 years. Didn't go get regular cleanings. And a lot of people have fears of the dentist and they avoid stuff like that. But what do you think ended up happening? When he finally went to the dentist, he had to go literally every single week for several weeks, and then every 2 weeks. And there were teeth that had to be pulled. There was gum cleanings. There was all sorts of stuff that had to happen because of the deferred maintenance. And then there's pain that comes with that. Like if we get ahead of something, and there's a reason why insurance companies agree to pay, if you have dental insurance, right, 2 cleanings a year and x-rays. If you get ahead of it, then you're going to have a drastic increase in needing any major things replaced or dealt with. All insurance companies care about is money. So believe me, they wouldn't be covering 2 cleanings a year if it didn't end up being a great use of preventative care. But we don't do the preventative care on us. We slip out of it because of all the crap in life, because of stuff from our childhood. It can be so familiar to neglect ourselves, to even abuse ourselves because maybe we were neglected. Maybe we weren't prioritized. Maybe we watched a parent or a caregiver neglect themselves and put things off, and we inherited that. That's why I'm saying this is much deeper than procrastination. Procrastination is your check engine light coming on. So if you notice that's heightened, I procrastinate. That is definitely a symptom of where I go when I am not getting regular oil changes, when I'm kind of stretching it, I'm getting greedy with it, I'm pushing too hard. Oh my God. I have to tell you guys this really quick story. And I truly have to know, in addition to the vag cleavage, I truly need to know if any of you have done this. Like, I'm even embarrassed to share it, and it's only happened one time. It really probably only has to happen to anyone once. I wasn't broke, but I wasn't a broke ass, but I certainly wasn't wealthy. Okay. And I don't remember, I think I was in corporate still. It could have been in my first year though of my first business where I was kind of operating like a cheap ass. My guess is that's when it was, because I was driving a BMW so I'm thinking it was my first year. Yeah, it was my first year of my first business, which was like 15, 16 years ago. And the gas light came on. And I was like, you know how there's like extra reserve, there's extra reserve miles there. It's not like the light comes on and then all of a sudden there's no gas. And in the BMW I had, you could press another button and see how many miles you had left. So when the light came on, there's like 50 miles left or something. And I kept pushing it to the point where I like wasn't even looking. The car, which I didn't know happened because that was my first luxury car I've ever had. I always had like, I don't know what we want to call them, normal people cars. And the entire electronic system, the entire car shut down on the Los Angeles freeway, on the 101 freeway, if you're familiar with LA. Like, there's no LA freeway that you want this to happen on because the LA freeways are a shit show. It was enough where I could come to a rolling stop on the side, but I couldn't even make it to the next exit, which I knew there was a gas station right off that exit. And the car was done. It was like, I warned you, and I kept warning you. And it wasn't, I wish it was beeping at me. Maybe that would have actually like woke me up, but I was so dissociated and not present then. But it was a full reflection of how I was treating my body, especially in that first 18 months of having a business. I was in so much fear. I was like, I have to keep working because the more I keep working, the more chance I can get clients and da-da-da-da. And I just kept going and going and going. It was an absolute symbol of how I was treating myself, which of course I didn't pick up on that clear signal. And I had to walk on the freeway, leave my first ever luxury car on the side of a freeway. I couldn't even lock it. I mean, the whole system was shut down. And I had to walk and get a gas container and bring it back. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe the car shut down. You couldn't even put it in neutral and have someone push it. And I was like pissed off about it when I called BMW. I was like, I couldn't even have someone just push it in neutral. And they're like, well, this is a good thing. It shuts down because if it didn't shut down, the amount of heat that the car is generating would absolutely ruin the car. And then you'd have a real problem at hand. You could even cause a fire. It was actually, it's happening for your greatest good. So if you're in a point where you feel shut down and you're at that procrastination loop has you so irritated, exhausted, over it, sick, whatever. This is happening for you. This is your engine light screaming at you coming on. So my private client, Valerie, hired me to help her grow her energy coaching business. And clients and sales were only trickling in. She couldn't figure out what the heck she was doing wrong. And after coaching more than 150,000 people, I can identify the holes in someone's business and mindset, typically within a 30-minute conversation. And while Valerie did a full overhaul of the way she packaged and marketed her offers, the even bigger issue was her addiction to this procrastination loop I'm talking about. So she would get so frustrated and overwhelmed with not seeing any results in her business that in a subconscious effort to take the pressure off, she would stack a to-do list of errands that had to be done today and prioritize these non-income generating tasks because it gave her the feeling of being productive without the guilt of taking a nap. But it was really a clever form of procrastination. It would have been better for her to take the nap or for her to take a full day off or a weekend off than it would be for her to keep going and do all these nonsense tasks that she convinced herself had to be done. Like I've done shit like I have to reorganize my sock drawer. And I would really I have to do that. And I have to go to the grocery store and I have to clean out this thing. And I have to go order this thing online. And I would convince myself that all of that had to be done before I could do these other more high level income generating tasks. Because those gave me the sense, and same with Valerie, gave me the sense of, I'm still productive, I'm still getting something done, but what you're really doing is just moving plates around, right? I'm getting something done that's really not that important. I'm still procrastinating. The other thing still hasn't done, and I'm burning energy and not giving my body what it needs. Maybe it's a rest. Maybe it is having a nice lunch. Maybe it is having a laugh with a girlfriend. Maybe it is going to work out. Instead of giving my body what it's requiring, I keep going, and now I definitely don't have the energy to do the other thing. It's pure insanity. She didn't realize that she was doing this, which is why we can't accomplish our big goals and growth on our own. If your business is stagnant, if your goals for weight loss or fitness are stagnant, if your relationship is stagnant, friendship, family, love relationship, you need someone on the outside who's very experienced to point out with love what you can't see and then help you and guide you to fixing that thing. My spring applications, by the way, are open for my exclusive 2-month private business coaching program. I only take 6 people at a time. I think I have 3 spots left right now. These go very quickly, and you can access that application in the show notes by swiping up. It's also in my link in bio on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. And this is where we work together for 2 months. Everything is customized. We customize your profitable business plan. We customize your offers, the pricing of them, the naming of them, the marketing around them to make them irresistible to your ideal clients. Then we get on the offense of your ideal clients' objections to working with you, the money stuff, the time stuff. We make it so that you stand out in a sense of authority and make it very clear of who you help and what you help them with, and then package those different ways of working with you in a way that your ideal client can't resist them. In fact, that they have to have them. And this is how we end up also growing your influence and growing your audience using the power of digital marketing. All this is done inside my private program, which is 100% customized to you. It's the most exclusive way to work with me. So therefore, right, you end up getting the fastest results because you've put the most skin in the game. That doesn't mean you don't get results by being in my posse, by being in my other programs. But if you really want something totally customized to you and all the attention on you and the focus on you in your business and growing and scaling that, this is the program that you need. Swipe up. Don't procrastinate on that because these fill up really quickly, and I don't make any exceptions. I have really clear boundaries on taking a maximum of 6 people because you guys deserve my best energy and my clearest bandwidth. And this is also what I teach you to do, is having these kinds of business and personal boundaries, because it can't just be about money. I've made that mistake where I take on more and I do more because it's more money. And isn't that what you're supposed to do to grow a business, and take in more and more and more money? No, because what ends up happening is you end up stalled on the side of the 101 freeway. It ends up being a whole 3-hour experience, and you've just lost your day. You're exhausted, you're frustrated, and it's not sustainable. And then you end up taking 3 steps forward and 5 steps back. And this is not a profitable business plan. So I have to practice what I preach. So Valerie would get so frustrated and overwhelmed when not seeing any results in her business. So to take that pressure off and get a dopamine hit, again, subconsciously, she would go accomplish these smaller tasks, i.e. reorganizing the stock drawer, i.e. buying containers to organize her pantry, i.e. going to get a car wash, because those at least made her feel like she accomplished something. Now, that's okay if she just did that once in a while, but she was stuck in this loop where it was preventing her from getting any results. These errands felt mentally easy on her. And she's done them many times before for many years. There was no emotional charge behind going to the market and getting an oil change, right? So it felt easier and calming and dopamine inducing to her nervous system. So it makes sense why she naturally and almost even on autopilot went over to this area. And you're doing that too. So I just want you to observe yourself without judgment. If you were someone on the outside, like even pretending if I was a fly on the wall and I was shadowing you and watching what you do you do that? Do you put other tasks? Some of you put other people's life stuff ahead of your own as a clever way of procrastinating. And then you tell yourself, well, my kids needed help with their homework and Susie needed new shoes and my husband was on a business trip and he needed me to go get this done. And my aunt is having a birthday and I wanted to make her a special cake. And you put other people's stuff ahead and then convince yourself, well, this is what a loving mom does. This is what a loving friend does. This is what a loving partner does. But it really is a way for you to feel like you're getting stuff accomplished, but the stuff you know that really will move the needle in your life and your business and your goals and create that life-changing cash, you're neglecting. So what really works best for people, and it's so individual, is we have to have a disruptor. We have to have a way of sticking, as I said in a posse training last week, sticking a Sharpie in a bicycle wheel that's spinning. We've got to have something that disrupts it. And those of you who are savage might want to stick a knife in there. We've got to stick it in there and stop it. Otherwise, it's going to keep spinning because it's been spinning for years. This might be something you've done your entire life. You might have watched a parent do it even. You might even be married to someone who does it. Now everyone's wheels are spinning all the time. And now if you have kids, your kids are picking up on what you guys are doing and what you're operating on, even if it's not intentional, but they're picking up on that as well. You have got to be rigorously honest with yourself. What would make me prioritize doing these uncomfortable things that I don't want to do, that I'm convincing myself that are hard? What is going to get me to do them? For me, for example, I have to pay people money. When I pay people money, I'm not going to waste that money. And when I make accountability to those people, like I'll have this chapter of this book done by then, or I'll have I have to have this podcast episode into my producer by a certain time. I show up unless I'm sick or something else went on, but I show up and follow through and do it. It can also be helpful to put it out publicly, which is why you'll see people who maybe show a weight loss journey and they chronicle it on social media. It helps them be accountable and helps them show up. Some people do it more privately where they're doing it with a therapist. But when we are left to our own devices and telling ourselves all these things mentally, and it's in our own head, we're not accountable to anyone except ourselves. And that puts us in self-will, and that doesn't end well. And some people even do tricky stuff where they're like, I do have an accountability partner, my sister, but if it's not someone who's going to kind of call you out on it, that's not a real accountability partner. That's called an enabler. And some of you are picking people that won't call you out, and it's even subconscious because they're not going to call you out, but it makes you feel like you have accountability. I remember when I wanted accountability when I was full on an exercise addiction to doing my 2-a-days at the gym. And I didn't want to come back for the second workout of the day. No shit. Who would? But I picked someone as an accountability partner, but subconsciously I picked someone where I could text them at any time and give any excuse. And they'd say, okay, see you tomorrow. They never questioned it. They never brought it up to me. Well, that's not accountability partner. And the truth is I never really wanted to do the second one, but it tricked me into thinking I had an accountability partner. But what it really ended up doing is adding additional shame and weight to me, because then I had to deal with coming up with an excuse to that person and reaching out to that person and then knowing that they were at the gym and I wasn't at the gym and I just created an additional weight to put on myself. Whereas if I really wanted to do that, me hiring a trainer that if I didn't cancel within a certain time, I would have had to have paid for, believe me, I would show up for that. So we have to get honest with ourselves. But when you are in that procrastination, first thing is acknowledging and being aware of that loop. So now you're aware of, you procrastinate, but I want you to really dissect your pattern. And when you dissect it, you're like, I'm in my pattern. Even you pattern interrupting by saying that. I'm in my pattern right now. We're in the pattern. And you have to make a choice right then and there to take contrary action. Okay, instead of me saying I have to go to the market or buy this backpack for my kid, I am going to do this one thing on my list. And then I can go back and go get my car washed. And just do that one thing on your list. Go do the one thing on your list. And then you can go back to doing whatever nonsense that you're doing. But you've got to pattern interrupt that thing. And if that's not working for you on your own, you need to bring someone in the mix. I mean, one of the main reasons why I always have a private coach, usually more than one, I have two right now, is the accountability. Not to say I don't learn things. I'm always learning new things about myself, about business, etc. But it's the accountability. I'm not going to waste that money, and I'm not going to disrespect the person who I respect as my coach and say that I'm going to follow through on something and say I'm going to bring something back to the table the next time that we meet and then not do it. Even if I'm doing it at the last minute, I still get it done. And you know what happens when we get things done? It ends up feeling so energizing. It ends up feeling so empowering. It feels really good in our nervous systems. And then you start shifting that you become addicted to that good feeling. It's a much better feeling when that happens. I'm now addicted to what it feels like to get stuff done and accomplished. That high, that inner drugstore high, lasts much longer and far and away exceeds that temporary like dopamine hit of procrastinating. So I'm excited to hear what you guys think about this episode. Take a screenshot, share it on social media, tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, share this episode with a fellow procrastinator so that they can get a different take on this behavior. And maybe even them receiving this episode will be a sign of, oh my God, it is a warning light. This is my check engine light. I am in the heat of procrastinating, and the very thing I need is the very thing I keep resisting, and that I need a rest. I need a break. I need a moment. I need to go back to working out. I need to have a tough conversation with my partner. I need to hire more help in my business. I need to delay a launch. I need to hire a coach, whatever it is. This is going to be their check engine light coming through you. So share this episode. Go leave a 5-star written review of the show on Apple Podcasts. Leave your name or Instagram handle in the review. Send me a screenshot and I will send you a special surprise gift as a token of appreciation. If you're a Spotify listener, you can't leave a written review yet, but all you can do, which is very helpful, is take 2 seconds and tap 5 stars. That goes a long way in helping the show grow. And I appreciate all of it so much. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.